Hello, everybody. My name is Alexander Mold. My advisor is Giselle Cummings, and today I will be discussing socioeconomic factors involved in seasonal variation of influenza incidence in hospitalized patients from 2020 until 2023 in New York City. This is the topic of my grant proposal. Now, introduction. So, influenza is a single-stranded RNA virus that hospitalizes between 140 and 800,000 people annually in the US, and an average of 43,000 cases are seen in New York City alone. This makes up approximately 43% of New York State, and New York City is the focus of this study because of its massive variation in socioeconomic factors over such a geographically small area, but it has a very high population density. So the factors that we will be examining in the study. So the first question is, the study will examine the role of the various socioeconomic factors in annual influenza incidence in New York City. So we're going to be looking at the zip code, the type of home, the education that the patient and the family gets, and other factors including age and gender. These factors are all part of a questionnaire that is available in Appendix A of the grant proposal and is the final slide of this. But to go through some of the basic ones here, in terms of zip code, we're looking at two different factors, the average air quality and the average income. So average income is going to be based on zip code, as there is a major discrepancy between the various zip codes in and around New York City, where neighborhoods right next to each other will have completely different lifestyles on average. Additionally, air quality varies dramatically by zip code, where some of the areas most affected by low air quality are also tending to be regions where there's less overall average income. So these two factors are eliminated and also very integrally linked. In terms of the type of home, we're looking at the type of home itself, as in an apartment, a house, or a multifamily home. The latter two you're most likely to find in Staten Island or Brooklyn or even some areas of Queens. And we're also looking at the number of the people in the home. And this is important because this is how many people actually live there and the density of people necessary to allow for an easy spread of influenza, as well as the education. Now, this is both the personal and the family education, because this is a sense of how they actually are able to understand the benefits of receiving an influenza vaccination during their time. And this is integral to helping to prevent the flu. So by examining their education, we are indeed looking at the socio factors involved in preventing flu. So the inclusion criteria for the study is only hospitalized patients in the Montefiore Hospital Network, where I intend to do my residency, in patients greater than 18 years of age or older. In terms of the actual confirmation, it has to be lab confirmed, and it's only people living in New York City, not people diagnosed in New York City. I'm also only counting cases during the CDC-defined beginning and end of the influenza season. Anything outside of those dates, younger than 18 or not living in New York City, are not counted in this study. So the analysis of this data will be done by linear regression and will be conducted on all of the various socioeconomic factors. There will also be comparisons by the various factors by chi-squared. Now, the goal of this is to have a couple of graphs that show the likelihood of obtaining influenza based on each individual socioeconomic factor and the likelihood of having influenza based on a combination of factors that are cumulative. So 2 is equal to 2 in the case of that. And it does not matter which 2, and it does not matter which 4. In terms of success and the anticipated results, so success is defined as a completion of the questionnaire of about 40% of the total influenza patients in Montefiore Hospital Network. In terms of the actual numbers, the annual average for influenza per hospital in New York City is approximately 150. And as such, there are 5 hospitals in the network, so that would put it at around 700 cases on average total. So we'd be looking at around 300 cases. This anticipated results for this are that vulnerability of socioeconomic standings will have a linear relationship with the influenza incidence. Population density will have the highest likelihood of the influenza incidence, so this is your type of home. And education itself will also prevent people from seeking the vaccination, which will also be a major contributing factor. In terms of the average air quality, this is a role more so in potential confounding, and that is why it is being taken into account to address that initially. Age and gender are also being used to prevent any sort of confounding. So the timeline, I'm planning to begin in July of 2020 and to end all of the data analysis by May 2023 with a final report finished by June of 2023. In July of 2020, I will seek expedited IRB review and then completing that prior to the start of the influenza season. In terms of my IRB review, I don't suspect that there is any undue potential risk, and the information that I'm gathering is not considered exclusive to the patient. It is exclusive, but it's not considered potentially hazardous if it were to get out. So IRB expedited review is anticipated. So the data collection will only occur during the defined periods of the influenza outbreak. And at the end, when the CDC calls it the end of the flu season, that is when data collection will stop. So that will be roughly March 2020 October 2020 until March 2021, and the rough timelines based on that. Now, it could go a little late, so if it's late, some of these dates might be pushed back a bit, but ideally, the data analysis will be conducted through the influenza season and will be finished by May of the final year of that influenza epidemic. Ideally, everything would be finished by June of 2023. The findings will first be made available in the hospital network, so the Montefiore network, and later the results will be made available to the New York City Department of Public Health and future for publication. So with that, I conclude my presentation. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I have my bibliography right here. Here are the sources that I used, and this is the approximate questionnaire that will be used. It is still pending finalization, but this is the rough approximation of what I have. Thank you for your time, and I hope that you have a good day.